Okay, and I think really what I think we're live now.
I don't know.
All right, awesome. So today's going to be, I think, extra fun because I think we have some very divided opinions. Some of us loved it, some of us loved it less. And I don't know about the others because they're not here yet. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm a longtime fan of Aliette de Bodard's work. So I was really excited to read this. It was not my pick. It was actually Gabriella's pick, but Gabriella is not with us today. Gabrielle hasn't been with us for a while. Like, she got vaccinated and then started like doing things on her Sundays. So now she's
she can have an outside life.
Yeah, she can have an outside life now. I think
so we're the antisocial.
It's true. We're the antisocial crew. We're the digitally social crew. I think this is pretty social.
It is.
You know? Yeah. So, okay. So we read The Citadel of Weeping Pearls by one of my favorite people. I'm going to read the blurb from it, and then we can jump right in. So, The Citadel of Weeping Pearls was a great wonder, a perfect meld between cutting-edge technology and esoteric sciences. Its inhabitants capable of teleporting themselves anywhere. Its weapons small and undetectable and deadly. 30 years ago, threatened by an invading fleet from the Dai Viet Empire, the Citadel disappeared and was never seen again. But now, the Empire itself is under siege, on the verge of a war against an enemy that turns their own mindships against them. And the Empress, who once gave the order to raze the Citadel, is in desperate need of its weapons. Meanwhile, on a small, isolated space station, an engineer obsessed with the past works on a machine that will send her 30 years back to the height of the Citadel's power. But the Citadel's disappearance still extends chains of grief and regret all the way into the fraught atmosphere of the Imperial Court. And this casual summoning of the past might have world-shattering consequences.
Does it?
I think it does. I don't know why. It does.
I chose violence. I chose violence this morning.
She did.
Literally. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask Sai to go first because I know you'll be popping in and out while you're apartment hunting. So Sai, you go first.
I did not hate this. When I started reading, I honestly had a hard time getting into it because I was just like, I don't know. That's how I felt when I started reading it.
It just kind of throws you in, right? It just kind of throws you into the
yeah, which is not bad. It's just also what is going on. I don't know what's happening at all. And so it took me a while to get used to like not knowing what was happening. But then I got into the story and I was like, okay, I can get into this. And it reminded me a lot of, I don't know if you guys have watched the 100 on Netflix, the whole kind of like having ancestors sort of live in your head type vibe. I was like, this seems familiar. And so I enjoyed a lot of I guess some of the world building things that were inside of there. I thought were really cool. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now.
Okay, Bree, and then me.
Okay. I think art is always meant to be appreciated. It's not always meant to be understood or liked. That being said, I appreciate this book. I appreciate the art. I appreciate the author's voice, and I appreciate her mind. Mind. I appreciate it because it was beautiful. The idea of, as Seidel said, the ancestors. I thought that was a beautiful image in my mind of this, culture that they have where they maintain their connections to their ancestors. I thought the idea of the mindships was unique, that they're birthed like humans. But all of that aside, as a story, I wasn't a fan. And I wasn't a fan because it was plot driven versus character driven. and it was very fast. It was fast in that where you were reading the blurb, I was getting an image of my head of these technologies and these sprawling whatevers. And I'm like, yes, we got that, like 2 sentences each. The technology was like a sentence. The ship was like a sentence. The Citadel was a sentence. There was not this beautiful imagery of this culture. It was just like, this is how it is. And you're thrown into the political intrigue. So that's what this is a book of, actually. So I might even feel duped by the blurb. Because really, I would have blurbed it as, this is a story of political intrigue, very Game of Thrones. And then you get to the end. Oh, and as Citadel said, you kind of get thrown in. Everybody's kind of moving individually. There's 4 points of view. And by the time people come together and the story starts moving and you're like, okay, I'm interested, then it just ends. And it ends with a hard stop and a hard period. And I get the point the author was making, and we'll talk about it. The point was made. But all of these beautiful sprawling technologies and world building that I thought I was getting into as like a sci-fi like space opera, it's not a space opera. It's a short version of like Game of Thrones in space.
I think it's worth noting that this is one right now in 3 novellas, and it's the middle one. Right? I think that's worth noting with all of these particular critiques in mind. Citadel says, I agree so fast in the private chat.
It was so quick. I agree with everything you just said. It was like boom, 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 boom. And I'm wanting to savor some of the moments that they're giving me, but I can't because I have to move on to the next one. So yeah.
I think all of that is fair. I think these are fair criticisms, but I guess I feel differently because I went into this knowing this is a novella. This is a novella that is one novella in the middle of three novellas that are painting this story across across like space and time, right? Hey, look, Talia reach.
Hi.
Yay. Shayna also agrees. She says, sorry, running late, be there soon. All right, so she's watching. Okay. So yeah, all right, but let me jump in with my 2 cents then. I think I really enjoyed this, okay? Not that I think I really enjoyed this, I did really enjoy this. I knew I would enjoy it because I enjoy Aliette's work. I've read a fair number of stuff from this particular writer, and I really enjoy just about everything that I've read. And what I like the most about her work, and in this particular one, because I actually haven't, so there's one before and there's one after, and I actually haven't read any of them until I read this one for book club for this particular book club, right? She's got like a ton of like short stories and other stuff out there. What I liked about this was the fact that everything was condensed into like a single moment, right? And maybe condensed into a single moment is not quite the right way to describe this, but I'm trying to find words. Just bear with me. I don't know what to do with my ice pack, which is no longer icy.
I think it's like it's on a pinpoint. It's on a pinpoint. You're like at the edge.
Yes, right.
Tipping point.
Yes. So I really like that about this. And I do think that her work is really fraught with emotion, right? There are a lot of emotional layers in this particular story.
I agree.
Which are very compelling, in my opinion. And what I think I like the most about her work, it ended suddenly, but that was the point. And I enjoyed the fact that we got to that point, and we just have to like grasp ourselves by the heart and hope about what comes next. I kind of like that. But again, I don't always like it. I liked it because I was prepared for this, right? I liked it because I was prepared for that going in, and that's fine. But what I appreciate the most is that the emotion that is in this particular novel is woven from beginning to end. It underlies and just kind of underscores all the other things that are happening. And even though this is, and it's a story that is literally happening across space and across time, I feel like those emotions have all just, it's like a net that has just been thrown across all of the space and time and just pulled into this one pinpoint of a moment, right? This pinhead right here. And we're just kind of holding all of that one emotion across all of that space and all of that time in these however many thousand words that is in this novella. And for all that, it does not take the traditional 3-act structure that we like to read and that we often even like to write and see on the screen. That envelopment, right, of emotion across space and time just pushed into this one moment for us to experience, for me, is absolutely exquisite. And that's what this feels like. And for me, I feel it was one of the reasons I was excited to read this finally, because I feel like I get that impression with a lot of this particular writer's work, right? Is that there's this underlying, this is kind of underscored emotion of one particular kind throughout all of her pieces that act as a net that pulls all of these events together for us into like a single experience in a single moment. And yeah, it's not what you get. It's not what you get in a regular novel. It's not what you get in a regular 3-act story. It's not what you get in any of those other situations. But that is without a doubt the thing that I love the most about it. Does that make sense?
I can see that. And seeing that point of view, if it's about the emotion, then it hits the nail. If it's about like the space,
that's if you're looking for action,
no,
Like, I feel like the book that would have, I say the novella, right? Because it's technically not a full-length novel. Yeah, I can see that. I think that perhaps the one, and I need to read the one that technically would have come before. I think it's Red Station is the one before this. I meant to read it before I read this one, but I got so caught up. Okay, Echo. Okay, I got so caught up with other stuff that it was Saturday, and I was like, oh, I haven't read the book yet, and I sat down and I took like 4 hours and I read it, and then I fell asleep. So that's how that happened last weekend. And I should have gone back to read Red Station this week, but I did not get the chance to. Anyway, Talia, welcome. You're back. Your turn. What are your thoughts, opinions, emotions, feelings?
Y'all hearing me? You hearing me? Okay, good. Because I cut out for a second there. Right. So this book was very, very low on action. Right, but what I remember most is how I felt when I read this book. I was visually blown away with words. You know what I'm saying? I saw this, and I'm like, oh, this is gorgeous. And it was supposed to be a standalone within the universe, and that's what I'm mad at, because I am so invested in this particular story. It's like all of anime needs to look at this book and like, okay, this is how you do a filler. Right? I should not be sitting here waiting for the main event to start. This is how you do a filler. Right? I am so, like, I can't really remember the names. I've been really exhausted this week. Sorry about that. But I can't remember, but I do remember like how I felt reading this. Like I felt the emotions, like what you said, like, you know, it's all pulling together. And Miguel and I were joking about it. There's this comedian we follow, and he was talking about the difference between British movies and American movies. And American movies are popcorn movies and the action, and you know, you're eating popcorn like this. Versus British movies are like, what is it you want, Sebastian? Matches. It's very much Sebastian rearranging matches. But I want to watch Sebastian interrupt someone rearranging these matches while her ancestors are telling her, you know, hey, well, you know, this is how this goes, and remember this and remember that, lacking the emotion because they're AI. And oh my God, I want to see this movie. I want to see this movie with a whole bunch of Vietnamese actors and so on. I want to see this movie. I want to see it.
there's one scene in particular that when I read it, I was like, I imagined it like a movie because I was like, I want to see this on screen so bad. This one scene, and I'll tell you, the scene where the Mihip, the Empress, was destroying the baby mindships before that they could be implanted to destroy them to keep the other empire, what were they called? I forgot the name, but the invading empire from taking them. And I just imagine them ripping apart these ships.
I think it's the Nam Empire. The Nam or something.
And I just imagine a sweeping view, slow motion, the ships in space being ripped apart, like gripping music, like John Williams style or Hans Zimmer, and then like the Empress just cold face watching it happen. You know, because
Sigur Rós from he did the score for How to Train Your Dragons. He would have done something great with that too. Yeah.
So, Aliette, if you are out there and you ever watch this, I hope your agent is like hardcore trying to sell film rights for these books, because you've already got viewers. Just waiting.
I am gonna start the change.org. So look out on all my socials for that. Look out on Claire's socials because she's gonna be retweeting this. How do you take words and make it visually? Like, I can't tell you what happened. Like, I can't really say, well, okay, well, this is what happened, and then that happened, and like give you like a proper synopsis. Like, I read that the day after we finished the last stream. I read that the day after, and then I got my vaccine last week Thursday, and I'm exhausted, so brain is wiped like a mind chip.
For me, what I think this lost as a novella for me, I think it would have gained on screen, because we're thrown into the story very quickly. And in a short story, we don't have enough words to start building these relationships. But on screen, you can show very easily with the expressions on an actress's face. You can see that the Empress is a very stern, stoic person. You could see that Sunuk is very like about the battlefield. So there's things that you could see in their body language that you're not going to get from reading necessarily. So I agree. Where I kind of lost some of that in the book, I was thinking it as I read it the whole time. I'm like, this would translate very well. Because I'll tell you, I couldn't read Game of Thrones. It's too much political intrigue. It's too many points of view. It's too much going on. On screen, where you can get body language and facial expressions and camera positions, I was able to follow Game of Thrones on screen. This book, I think, would do wonderfully as like a miniseries.
Yeah. No volume, care. No volume.
Sorry. I was saying I'm definitely behind Sheena, thinking that Bear McCreary could do the soundtrack for this. I think that would also be fantastic. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, like I need somebody who, like, I want the oh my god, what's his name? The guy the engineer, the one who slept, who was the lover of the Empress. What's his name? Sunuk.
He's not an engineer. He's a general. He's the general who read the Book of Heaven.
The engineer was Baku, and then the other one, Deem Hong.
Right. So, like, I wanted to see I wonder, I could imagine Jackie Chan playing the general. But not Jackie Chan, but like a Jackie Chan-like person.
No, I don't want Jackie Chan. You know who I want? The guy from 90210. I can't think of his name right now.
I have no idea. I mean, I know who Jackie Chan is. I have no idea who these other people are.
Oh, I saw him on Broadway. He played in The King and I. He played the king. Daniel something. Oh my God, he's
Daniel Day Kim?
Yes. Yeah. I think Daniel Day Kim. I'd love to see him
Daniel
play.
Day Kim was in 90210?
I think so. Is that the same one I'm thinking of? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
No, that's Hawaii Five-0.
That's Hawaii Five-0, yeah.
That's what I meant.
A show with a number. It's a show with a number.
A show with a number. Yes.
To be fair,
Daniel Day Kim.
I would watch anything that Daniel Day Kim is in.
Daniel Day Kim.
He's a beautiful man.
Oh my God, yes. Him working behind the camera is just a visual loss to us all. He's on my to-do list. I mean, my headed list. I mean, well, you know what I mean. He's my whole pass. That's my whole pass.
Your to-do list. I love this.
I'm going to have a whole separate to-do list now, and I'll have to hand this to Brendan and be like, Brendan, you need to tell me which of these are my own. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, that's but yeah. He is playing the general because he's a fantastic actor.
Daniel Day Kim.
Why are y'all like this?
We're thirsty.
Evidently.
If he calls you, I just wanna watch. I just wanna watch.
Why are y'all like this? That's
can
not
watch.
what this is about. Okay? Listen.
Talia, you can watch anytime.
Let's focus, goddammit.
We are focused on what's important. Daniel, we mentioned Daniel. They came and it wasn't me this time. Okay?
I mean, you said the name though.
Yeah, because
Bree was just like that hot guy from that show.
And not just that, she got the wrong show, but I got the hot guy in question when she said, oh, he has a beautiful face. Yes! Daniel Day-Kim, the most beautiful face in Hollywood. And his body is like not bad either. Like there was a scene in back to the show. But like
I don't even know what Shayna says she calls it a hit list. Oh god.
Yeah, I call it a hit list just in case the NSA is listening. Right? So that they know like this bitch be thirsty. But like I said, he is on my to-do list. Right? And like I'm thinking like an older Michelle Yeoh for the Empress, but then that's because
I think Erin is
yeah, they're loving the to-do list. Yeah.
I think she's supporting the to-do list. All right, let's get back to the thing. Really, Bree? These are my friends. All right.
It was getting a little hot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm having a sweater. I gotta drop the temperature down on my AC. All right. So I want us to talk a little bit about the world building. So some of us felt like maybe the world itself wasn't expanded enough, or like talked about enough because you were looking for some heavier science fiction-y stuff. Some of us felt I actually felt like it was fine, but for me it's because so let's as an example, when we were reading the Chosen and the Beautiful, right? The world building there was very background. It was very by the way. It was just like, this is just how things are. These are just things that happen, and then the story's happening. The world is somewhere in the back there, but the story's happening, and we aren't really getting any direct and specific explanations about what's going on. I felt like the world building here was the same. And I wonder if the reason that there was that disconnect for some of us, because I liked it. I liked that everything was just kind of, this is just the way it is. This is just the world we're in. This is how things are. I'm not going to explain this to you. I actually really like a lot when books do that, and like let the readers kind of figure it the fuck out. Yeah, I like that a lot.
You're talking about this book or?
Now I'm talking about this book.
Okay,
I think that this book didn't try to. I think this book was similar in that methodology. In that, this is just how things happen. This is just how things are. This is how the world works. This is how things work. This is what things are, right? We didn't get like that deep dive of why things work the way they work, or what is the background of the technology. We got some of it, sure. We got some of it as a matter of course, like as a matter of. Yeah, I feel like we got enough. But I feel like Bree was saying she was expecting a little bit more on that end. So I'm interested because like I liked it. I felt like I got exactly like just what I needed, and I as the reader was allowed to fill in the blanks. But Bree didn't feel like that. So I want to hear more.
I think by the time I started filling in the blanks, I was already 50 to 70% through.
Yeah.
So it's like in the beginning, it kind of felt a little empty, and then it really felt empty at the end. But if I'm listening to the discussion now where it's about the emotion, if it's about the emotion, then the science behind the Citadel really doesn't matter, because spoiler at the end, the Citadel's never found. So the Citadel's never found. It's never a part of the war. The idea is the past is meant to stay in the past. And we're going to fight a war where miracles don't even matter. You know, we don't need them. We don't need the Citadel. We don't need miracles. We move forward. So if that is the whole like emotional symbol or you know, at the end, I guess the technology of the Citadel doesn't matter because it was never going to be part of the war. But I kind of wanted to know more, you know, as a space opera fan, as a sci-fi fan, I was like, tell me more about how it works. What does it look like? How many buildings are there? Like, what's the technology? I kind of had an image, Is it a spaceship?
Some
Is
of
it like a
that- some of that-
planet?
Yeah, like some of that. So I got the impression the Citadel was made out of multiple spaceships. They were ships
Right,
that
like
were all sort of
multi-linked.
brought together, kind of.
Yeah.
That created the Citadel.
Like a
They were
floating
individual
city,
ships.
but in space. With spaceships.
Yes, with spaceships. That's what.
I
That's
actually
that's what I got.
disagree that it was light on the world building because I felt like, honestly, I felt like I saw.
I don't know. I just want to
Yeah.
clarify. I don't mean that it was a light on the world building. I mean
Yeah.
that the world building wasn't like thrown. It wasn't like thrown into your face. Hi.
Hi, can you hear
Hey,
me?
Shay.
Yeah,
Yes,
we can
yes,
hear you.
hear you.
You're good. You're golden.
Okay. So okay, before we jump back into that though, Talia, since Shayna is arriving, Shayna,
Yeah.
thoughts, impressions, feels about the book.
I didn't get it. I will fully admit I read this 3 times and still don't get it.
That is an investment.
I tried.
Man.
I tried so hard. I will say I thought it was beautifully written. It was definitely all about the feels. Story-wise though, I didn't get it. Like to me it's kind of funny because like if I sat back after like the third and final time I read this, like actually before I went into reading it the third time, I tried to do a little more research, and that's where I found out that, oh, this is like, you know, the second of 3 novellas. And I really thought hard about going and getting like the first one at least and see if maybe that would provide just a little bit more context, because that's what I felt like I was missing, was context. And trying to understand and feel out a little bit more about this world, this empire. And I love the scenery, the words, the feelings, you know, through the whole thing. But I just wish there was more of it, honestly, because it was something that I felt like I wanted to invest more time in to feel and understand. And I'm going to say the word see, but like, you know, imagine, like see more of this kind of imaginative world. So I want to read more. And I think that's kind of what I felt after I finished it, was that I wish there was more of it. I really liked it. Even though I kind of had a hard time grasping what was really going on. The third time around, I think I finally started getting, you know, what was happening. But yeah, I think at the end of it all, like by itself, like I felt like I had no idea what happened. Definitely understood kind of like the political games that were happening and moves that were happening. But again, I was still just kind of at this point where I was like, I don't know. I just wanted more. I wish there was more. I felt like I wanted to invest more time in more story, more words.
But is that a sign that the book wasn't great, or that it was exactly as great as it needed to be, because you're just like, God damn it, I need more of this?
That's kind of, you know, that's a good point, Kara. Like I'm trying to figure out. I literally like I spent like a good, and this is why I was so disappointed last week that we didn't talk about this, because I was still in the middle of like reeling of like what did I just read, like what am I doing. And so I think a week of reflection after that, it's been I think it's closer to the fact that like this was great because I felt like my mind and my imagination were opened up, and I felt like, you know, I got this glimpse into this new like world that is fantastic, that I want to know more about. So it made me curious and want to reach out and find more by the author. So I thought it was brilliant because of that. But then also I kind of felt a little bit of the frustration of maybe what some of my readers have gone through when I've written like the beginnings of short stories, and then it kind of just trails off and I don't finish it. So I'm like, oh, that's how that feels.
Is she attacking me?
I'm so sorry.
So I want, you know, with that
sorry.
in mind, I actually want to trace a couple lines here, because I feel like this is probably a result of me trying to make a real effort for my own writing. I may have mentioned this in the past, but for my own writing, I've been struggling to fit the stories that I write into a traditional 3-act structure. Yeah.
Fuck the 3-act structure.
Yeah, fuck 3-act structure, fuck it. right? Throw it out the window, whatever. But
I like the 3-act structure.
and that's fine. You're allowed
No,
to.
that's
You're allowed
fine.
to.
That's fine. That's
But for me, I found that the work that I write most easily and the stories that I form most naturally, they fit much better into something that's 4-act and not 3, right? Where the first 3 acts, or the first 2 acts, I guess, they're all about those acts are all about just like building tension, and there's no conflict in the traditional sense of what we see conflict as in the 3-act structure, right? It's more about tension and less about conflict. Yeah. And then there's always like this twist or this surprise or whatever it is. And I am more used to writing things like that than to the things that we often get in the 3-act structure. And so I feel like this, now I don't know. I did not actually try to sit down and figure out what type of structure this particular novella was. But I think that it's easy enough to say it's not 3-act. It doesn't feel 3-act to me, right?
I think I know how this book feels to me. Yeah.
What's
I
it-
think
how's
how it feels like a
What's it?
day in the life at the end of the world, right? And the book ended when the day ended, because the world is gonna take a couple of days to end, and this was just a single day in, right? It's like, screw the plot. Look at us. So over here, we're beautiful, we're interesting. Flip here, like it was like I honestly don't care what happened, right? I don't care, and I want to see it. And this was before you said like that dude whose name we shall not mention because global warming. Yeah, but
Okay.
no, I genuinely do not care. I did not care about the plot. I did not care. Like, I can't say, well, okay, well, I'm invested in this one character and I want to see things work out for them, or I really want to see that. I did not go through that whatsoever. Where
You
I
mean
was
with this
invest-
book or with?
Yeah, I with this book,
Okay.
I just did not care. I just wanted to see it happen. And
Wait.
I-
When you say this book, you mean with Citadel of Weeping Pearls, or you mean
Citadel of
with?
Weeping-
Okay, cool. I just make it sure because you were talking about something else a second ago, and I was very confused.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's okay.
Yeah, and as long as that's been cleared up. And like, I thought that the world building was fantastic. It was properly well woven in, I thought the characters were beautifully written. Like, you're seeing somebody who's written as a cold person, and you still get this, for somebody who doesn't give off emotion, you still got that internal, like a sea of emotion was boiling in them, like all these different factors and all these memories and all these this bits of knowledge coming
Yeah,
in.
everybody felt like an ocean. Each individual character felt like an ocean. Yeah, and that was beautiful. So I want to. Okay, so one, I have to do the obligatory. Erin and Mia, if you are watching, I know Erin is. Mia, I get the impression is watching, but is not on chat because I got a message on Discord. I don't know, but I must make the obligatory statement that all SFF is political, right? All science fiction and fantasy is political. And that is just a thing. That is a thing that we should kind of go into all SFF. Hi, Erin. Okay, yes, Erin is here. All SFF remembering, right? I do think, though, that when we read SFF, we don't always read for that political intrigue, right? It is always there, but we don't always read it for that purpose. And I think that's where the line is drawn. Now, what I want to talk about is, what is this supposed to be a story about? Because we all have different feelings about where the story ended and why it ended there and why isn't there more and all of that. But I feel really differently about it than you guys seem to feel. Because for me, this was a story about finding the Citadel of Weeping Pearls. That's it. That's all there is, right? This is a journey of finding the Citadel. It ends when we realize the Citadel cannot be found, right? Because where the Citadel is now properly out of bounds. It's outside of time, it's outside of space, it's outside of anywhere that it can be reached.
Outside of reach.
And it cannot be brought back, right? That's the point of this story. All sorts of other things are happening. all sorts of other things are going on. This war is starting, right? The Thousand Heart Princess ends meeting the bright princess, her sister, and she decides to go where the Citadel is, and I thought that was a beautiful moment. But even that, it was not necessarily her story or about her finding the Citadel and choosing to go be with the bright princess and choosing to live outside of time, right? The way the rest of them do, right? That's not even what this is about. That happened during the journey to find the Citadel. Yeah. But this was a story about finding the Citadel. And that's exactly what happened, right? If this story was supposed to fulfill that purpose, it fulfilled that purpose.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is not something that all stories do. Not in this way, right? A lot of stories, they are written for or about these like really grand, big journeys, or like big, especially space opera, right? Like Bree, you mentioned space opera. When we think of space opera, we do think about these like big sprawling events all over the galaxy, all sorts of moving parts to, you know, making things happen and like butterfly effects all over the place, you know? That's what we think of, at least what I think of when I think of space opera. And I don't think that this was not that. I just think that this was about one specific journey and one specific thing, and that's all it was about. And all of these other things are still happening. All of these other things, this instance of not finding the Citadel will have consequences throughout the rest of this universe, but those are different stories to tell.
And those are other books.
Yeah, those are other books. Those are the other, and that's how I feel about this, and that's why I wasn't unsatisfied. Yeah.
I was unsatisfied because I'm a greedy bitch, and I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I wanted more. I wanted them to resolve this romantic whatever tension. I wanted to find out what's going to happen with this guy. I want to find out what's going to happen with that person. You know. And the thing is, the Citadel can't be found. And it can't be used because that's what they wanted it for. They didn't want to, I want to meet you, I want to see you, I want to see how you're doing, you're my daughter, whatever. But I need your tech. And now how is that gonna work for this upcoming war? Because she wanted it for this upcoming war. And those are not questions the book intended to answer. Because the book was about the search for the Citadel.
Are you sure I didn't intend to answer it?
No, as in, I didn't see it happen on the page. I want to see it happen before we mention this. I'm a greedy bitch. I want what I want.
See, like to me, and I'll kind of just to add on a little bit here was that I didn't want a story of like finding the Citadel. I wanted to know what happened. Like, why did it disappear? That's the story I wanted.
I felt like that story was really clear, though. It disappeared because Bright Princess was like, oh shit, we're going to get raised. Peace out.
Well, where I would add in then is that, first of all, I love book club because it gives me different perspectives, and I love all of you. So yes, Kira, you're completely correct. If I'm looking at this, you know what it is? I was grading it on a different rubric. But if I'm grading on the rubric of looking for the Citadel, we got to a resolution. The resolution was found. And, sorry, my dog's distracting me. The resolution was found. And so that I appreciate. However, what I will say is I would have loved to, like Shayna was touching on, and also Talia, see the different relationships, because the Citadel disappeared because it was a threat, because the technology was something that the Empress wasn't about. But let's see more of that relationship. And then also, you know, the relationship between the general and the Empress. I think there was a lot that could have been explored from a character-driven point of view there. With sisters, you could obviously tell there was a lot of tension between them, that even though at the end, like you said, they had that beautiful moment together. But I think from a character point of view, emotional point of view, we got a glimpse of more stories that I think I was left at the end wanting to know a little more resolution. But again, if the rubric is the Citadel is found or not found, it wasn't found. But now we're left at the precipice of a war that is not going to have these technological miracles. It's just going to be fought as all wars are, and I want to know more.
This is
I
like
don't
being
know
an
if
uncle
this
in the
was-
Victorian era.
So Erin says it sounds like the ending was not emotionally satisfying, and I think that varies for each of us, because I actually feel like the emotional part. So there are different. Okay, I'm just gonna say, for me, I found satisfaction in some of the stories or in some of the loose ends that were tied, and then I'm looking forward to eventually finding that emotional satisfaction in books to come. Right. And we need to remember that there's at least one book after this and one book before. And I think there's already a fourth one coming out. Yeah. So that is a thing. Like, this is not the end. This is the end of the book.
Have you read those?
I not yet. I was going to read Red Station before I read this, but then I didn't have the time, so I just read this one. And then I was sick and all sorts of crap, and now I'm fine. And so my goal is actually that after book club today, I want to go read Red Station, read the one that comes after this, Citadel, and then read. Well, I don't think the fourth one is out yet. I think that's on pre-order, maybe.
No, yeah.
Because
So-
and like this actually took me to like the author's website, and I saw that she broke down like chronologically like how these stories take place. But I will say, like, I actually kind of agree with you, Karen, that like I think that I did find some emotional satisfaction at the end of the story, especially like that third time reading it, because like I said, like that third time I read it, I just kind of did away with like, you know, what I was looking for the first two times I read it. And I just focused on the words and what was there. And I felt like at the end of it, I kind of felt like, oh, okay, I see this story arc happening where, you know, we're more focused on just finding the Citadel. And at the end of it, when we come to the realization that, you know, it can't be found, it's lost in time, like, to me, that's what kind of gave me pause and kind of sit back and reflect. And I was like, okay, so if I look at it from this perspective, like, emotionally, like, I'm left, you know, even though I'm left wanting more of this story, more of this world, I felt like, okay, like, I feel like there was a little bit of an emotional release there, in that, you know, now you have to let go of the idea of, you know, finding the Citadel and bringing it back into this time's moment in time.
It could have been emotionally satisfactory for me in a different situation. So if I'm reading this standalone, it's not emotionally satisfying. We spent the whole book and talking about the Citadel, thinking about the Citadel, looking for the Citadel, and then at the end you don't find the Citadel. And I know not all stories are meant to end well. Sometimes you don't succeed. However, so if I'm reading it just as a standalone and we don't find the Citadel, I put down the book like, that's it. I feel cut off. Now, if I'm reading this and not finding the Citadel is like the end of Act 2B, you know, and then we're pushing into Act 3, where we're going to now do the war and we're going to defeat the Nam Empire the old-fashioned way, which is ships and brute force, then it would have felt satisfying. It's like, okay, we did find what we were looking for, but we're going to find something else, whether it's we come together as a country, we come together as a family, we find some other way. So that's kind of how I feel about it, I guess.
I knew it was part of this series. It was part of it. And I read it thinking, okay, I'm going to get that satisfaction, or I'm going to get the more that my greedy self wants. I knew I was going to get it in another book. So, because it was part of the series. And then is when I went back.
Or will they just talk about it and be like, oh, the war happened?
Yeah, but
okay, well, but even then I would have found out. Me finding out, okay, who won, that would have meant something to me, right? Like just a throwaway line would have done something. And it's like when I went back, because I'm like, I'm gonna read everything in this woman's bibliography. I'm gonna read everything she writes. If she writes a tweet, I wanna read it. But anyway, that's
I follow her on Twitter, so like I do in fact read
everything she writes. I read her. You know, like they say, oh, I'd listen to you sing the phone book, right? I'd read her grocery list. But yeah, that's just being ridiculous. But yeah, I became disappointed in the ending when I went back to the website and I said, this is a standalone book in this series. And I mean, if I'm disappointed after because I found out that there's more, then that was on me. That's not on the author, because I was satisfied in the moment. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
happy for the ankle flash. I was really, really happy for the ankle flash. I did not think that there was other stuff underneath there. Okay, I was happy for my ankle flash.
So I wanna, since Aaron pointed it out about the satisfaction or not satisfaction, non-satisfaction
Yeah.
of that ending, I wanna go back to that tracing lines thing and about what this story was about, right? If it's just about the Citadel, cool. And that's gonna as a way to explain why I was actually satisfied by this ending. Because the Citadel, there were two potential things for the Citadel to represent, right? One was a way to win the war, right? That was the obvious, like, everybody here who reads military and military-esque sci-fi and space opera with military stuff like Battlestar Galactica level shit, like that's it. We're going in there, we're like, a weapon to win the war. Gotcha, we get it.
Yeah, that's an overpowered weapon.
But the Citadel was also about reconciling between the Empress and the Bright Princess, right? It was this Empress's, yes, it was the practical thing to, what is the real Citadel, the friends they met along the way. In fact, that's kind of where I'm going with this. So the other thing that the Citadel is or represents is not just the way to win the war, but it's about reconciling with the Bright Princess, right? And for me, that happened. That did happen. They did not get the weapon that they were hoping to get, but she did get to reconcile with her daughter. She did get to find that closure, to know where her daughter is now, what has happened to her daughter. She did get to maybe not have that conversation, but she did get to share that last moment where it was a matter of, look, I love you, you love me. You know, it's that song from Barney, right? Like they got to have that moment. And that is why, for me, it was an emotionally satisfying ending. Yeah? Does that make sense?
In a way,
Yeah,
it could
it's
be
not
the one
ending.
thing.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in a way, it could be the one thing that was holding the Empress back before she really made the first push for the war. Because now she really gave up on the Citadel. She's like, it's not happening, but my daughter, I forgive my daughter, she forgives me. Now let's go fight and go down in blazing glory or survive, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's, and that brings you back to, like, what was the purpose of this story, right? It was about finding the Citadel. Finding the Citadel meant finding the secret weapon. Finding the Citadel meant the Empress and the Princess reconciling. Finding the Citadel meant X. Finding the Citadel meant Y. For the what was her name?
Which one?
The other princess, the 10,000 hearts princess.
Naku, I think. Nakha.
Nakha, because Min was the...
Nakmin was the Bright Princess.
Right, yes. So when she chose to go with her sister, I also felt like that was one of the things that the Citadel represented, right? So to each person in the story, the Citadel represented something different. To the Empress, yes, it represented a weapon. It represented reconciliation, right? To
Nakha, H-A.
Nakha, H, right. In my head, it's just the 10,000, the 1,000 heart princess. Is it 10,000 or was it 1,000?
I think it's
1,000.
1,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
1,000.
I don't know why I'm thinking it's 10,000. Anyway, but to her, it represented her sister, who represented a lot of other, who represented trauma. And she represented a lot of trauma, right? To Book of Heaven, it represented not just something that would please his Empress, that his Empress wanted and desired, but again, a weapon for the war. He was a general, right? To the engineer, it represented her family. That's where her mother was. It was answers to her past, answers to, all of this stuff. And at the end, I feel like everybody got that answer, right? The Empress reconciled. She didn't get her weapon, but that's because the weapon doesn't exist anymore, right? The general, he found what he was looking for his Empress, but now it doesn't exist. Okay, fine. That's tough shit,
He has a new purpose now. His purpose at the end. I love his line. He's like, well, now I'm going to return and aid her however I can. So
exactly.
His purpose is the Empress, period,
Yeah, exactly, right? For the sister, right, for the two princesses, she escaped. She's now no longer like in her mother's control, under her mother's control and beholden to that. She doesn't have to deal with political intrigue and BS, which she didn't like to anyway. She's, and she gets to just go because she had a good relationship with her sister before all this BS, right? And that's
she also won't have the trauma of being forced to birth a mind ship and watch it live every day, because that was also another trauma in her life.
That was a big thing for her. Yeah, that was a big thing for her, right? And the engineer got her answers, right? She got to meet her mother, and she learned what it was that her mother, right? Like people, it resolved really beautifully. To me, that is what I
think because people are not sure of what a satisfying ending is. People have this idea of what they want in a book, and I need the book to finish in this particular way. And we have a schmenter, not trigger warning, I'm going to mention the schmenter. Who for her happily ever after ending or bust, regardless of genre. And this was her bias and her blind spot, because she was predominantly romance. And I think a lot of us, like, we have our own blind spots when it comes to books. Like, I don't think that she had a great relationship with her sister, as in she literally grew up in the shadow of her sister, and there was a certain comfort in that, and then her sister left. So now you have this girl that was growing up accustomed to living in this shade, and now, like, her sister's name was literally, bright princess, the bright princess. And she had a boring ass name, like, 100 hot prince, 1,000 hot princess, like nobody could, like 15 hot princess, whatever. Nobody knows. Nobody cares.
Hot princess because everybody had a piece of her except for herself.
Exactly. And like, okay, it's like, where is my comfort zone is in the shadow of my sister, right? She is like an ambitious person, because unambitious people are valid in their non-ambitions as well. An ambitious person be like, oh my God, if it wasn't for her, if she didn't leave, then, and everybody was so concerned that with her coming, she would have to find her new place, but she was happy in the shadows. And to me, that is what, oh my God. Okay.
No, you're losing me. I hear. I just tease it. So
okay.
Keep talking. Okay.
Yeah, and to me, it was like the person who got the most satisfying of endings was her. Was 1,000 Hot Princess, because there were a whole bunch of things she never wanted to do that she's only doing specifically because her sister is no longer there. So she's living in the shadow of her sister without the benefit of having her sister there. And so even though it's not that they disappeared, it's that they exist only in that space and time, right? And it's like, I'd rather live in that singular space and time or not exist with my sister than to live in this life that I was never meant to live. I was fine with not living. I'm not worried about my sister returning. I am fine living in this shade. I'm a shady plant, right? I'm happy, the remnants of sunshine, right? I don't need to live in the direct brightness of the sun. That's her job. That's why she was the bright princess, right? I think that, and because I think people just weren't listening to her as a person, because she was she was an institution. She was born into responsibility, thank you, nepotism. So she was never a person unto herself. And being with her sister was just her finding her normal, her old normal, which she was fine with. You know what I mean?
She didn't even want to go on that mission. So in a way, her disappearing at the very end was kind of her taking control, because she didn't want to even be there. So she's like, you're going to send me to the, what was it, the scattered pearls on the ship that I birthed, that is super uncomfortable for me to ride on. So in a way, her disappearing into the light is almost killing the shadows, so.
Yeah.
Trying to remember, was it the turtle's golden claw? What was the name of the...
Golden claw.
Yeah, name of the ship. The ship, honestly, I felt the worst for the ship, because the ship lost the most in this. the ship lost her grandmother, or one of her grandmothers. Then the ship lost her mother. Right? The ship never had an aunt. The ship was born specifically to find this thing that they did not find.
It was a failure.
Now they'll send it to war.
Yeah, now they're gonna send the ship to war. But this ship is also a member of the Imperial royal family, which in itself is a politics, right? Like that's a powerful piece of politics there too, which for me,
I just missed out on like when they started talking about how they hijacked the other mind ships and you had missing mind ships. Now I'm like, my sci-fi antenna was going off. I'm like, tell me more. I want more. So I wanted to know more. How do you hijack a mind ship? What happens to it? Does it lose itself? Can you get it back? Like, do we have to kill it? So I don't know.
Yeah, is it like rabies or is it like?
Yeah, is it rabies or is it the flu? Which is it? You know, you coming back or not coming back? I want to know because they talk. The ship is contorted now. It's an image of what it used to be. But that I found again, that's the part of the world building that I got like a glimpse of. And I was like, no, give me. Just a flash.
For me, like the hijacked ship, like kind of made me think about like Firefly, like having like reavers and stuff, and so on. That's kind of like how I started picturing it or thinking of it in my mind. I was like, oh, these ships are basically like reavers now.
That's actually exactly how I felt too. I was just like, these are basically reaver mind ships. Stay away. All right, danger, Will Robinson, danger. Like
talking about sentient ships. I mean, come on, my heart, Mass Effect. You have the Reapers. Same thing.
Yeah.
I think the descriptions of the mind ship is like, okay, I think that was what told me, yeah, you want to read everything she's writing. You want to do that with your life.
And as you mentioned that, this was something I meant to say earlier too. I don't know if it was her or her editors or what or like who helped her to do this, or if she just decided to do this on her own or what it was. But honestly, I think that when she writes like this, like each standalone story she writes within this universe, it's just another crumb for us to follow and like pick up and suck on until we get the next crumb. Like that's it. We're going to be buying these books and reading these stories piece by piece. I
want a crumb. I want the loaf of bread.
Right. Yeah. But you know what? If you can't get that loaf of bread, you're going to sit there and suck on that crumb until you get it, aren't you? You're going to follow that. You're going to follow that promise, bitch. Like you're going to do this.
I'm going to put it in storage and wait for it and then just mash them all together.
It's called binging.
I've done that with shows.
Yeah. I would definitely prefer to binge read like every single thing ever, but it's already too late for me, right? Because I had just started like reading things when I like saw them in the universe.
So we're gonna have unofficial offline for Red Planet or Red Station.
I think it's on a Red Station drifting. Is that it?
Yeah.
And I can't for the life of me the one that comes after this one. I don't.
There's something on the detective.
Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something on the detective. I can't remember what the something is though.
It's something about tea.
Tea Master and the detective.
That's it.
Okay. Also, like, we also need to talk offline about our schedule, our upcoming schedule. I want a birthday book read. There's a very specific book I have in mind. I'll share it after we hang up today. We do have an hour of our usual time left, though. So, I mean, do we want to keep chatting or do we want to actually wrap up early and then talk offline about all of our upcoming plans?
Secret book club.
I don't mind because the book is beautiful. I could talk about it for a year again.
Yeah, I could keep talking about it.
But you have me peaked. So, yeah. Bye, everybody. This was nice.
Are we going to talk about Daniel Day Kim again?
Well, this is This is a novella, so I think it's only apt that we
that's fair. That's fair. It is a novella, not a full-length novel, so it makes sense that we did not spend 2 hours. But I do think that this hour was full. I feel like we had a lot to talk about in this hour, so I'm actually quite satisfied by it regardless. Okay, cool. So that was it for us today, Aliette de Bodard, and I really hope I pronounced his name correctly. I think I get the first name right. I don't know if I get the proper French. Like I don't.
Maybe maybe we'll get lucky and we'll be subtweeted with a pronunciation guide again.
Maybe I might literally just tweet. I might just add her on Twitter and be like, "Hey, how do I?" It's probably just I just don't have the French accent, right? You probably just say the words.
It's in your throat.
Aliette,
Yeah.
Bodard.
That's it, Shayna. Anyway, I think it was a beautiful, brilliant book. I think that even though we were all left wanting more in one way or another, that was definitely purposeful, a purposeful thing, a purposeful need, a purposeful desire. And I get the impression that we are probably, most if not all of us, are going to go looking for the next,
More crumbs.
More crumbs. You're going to go looking for more crumbs, which
Okay.
honestly, if you do that as an author, you make a reader want to find more of your work. You've done your fucking job.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, you've done your job. You've done your
Yeah.
job. And I definitely, any crumb that she drops, I'm going to follow it. So I'm about that life. All right, cool. Well, let's do, I mean, I feel like we've done final thoughts. Like we haven't explicitly done it the way we normally do, but I feel like the final thoughts are all there. Yeah.
I will say I recommend people picking this up and reading it. It is short. It's beautifully written.
Absolutely.
Maybe word of caution is that you're gonna want to go read more.
Yeah.
I
Oh
guess
no, what a terrible thing to
Oh,
happen.
no.
Oh no.
I would just
Terrible.
close on if you're like a mad space opera fan, military sci-fi fan, kind of like I am, just enter it with a different mindset. Because after talking to you ladies, which I enjoy every couple of weeks, I can definitely see your points of view and I can grade it on a different rubric. And then I can appreciate it. I mean, I always appreciated it from the beginning. It was beautiful writing. So I wasn't hating on you, author, if you're listening, Mr. Bodard. But I would say just go into it with a mindset of it's going to be a story without a lot of ups and downs. It's just going to be a slow climb, and then it kind of drops off. But I liked it. And if I can get some satisfaction elsewhere, I'm going to keep looking, I guess. So on to the next novella.
All right, cool.
Dear
anything else?
Netflix,
It's
HBO,
true. It's
Amazon. Dear Jeff, do not go back into space. You have money to spend on a movie or a series or a what the fuck ever for me, okay? And we have casting suggestions. We want like every hot.
I am
Dai
hearing
Viet
the
Empire.
typing, and I feel like this is her typing her change.org petition to get it into a mini-series. Okay, we'll
Dear
get back
Jeff,
to
I
that.
will send pictures of my ankles. Right? Just get it done, Jeff. Get it done. You have the money. Come on, man. Yes, Daniel, they come. Hey.
You'll take it.
Why are you
Doing
like
big
that?
head.
I'm going to end the live now. Okay, goodbye, internet.
Bye.
Bye.